Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bishop Lurie, I was listening and you said that during the discussions on the health care law, you were promised that, the religious liberties were going to be kept intact. Then after the rule was released, again, the promise. But then on February 10th, when the rule was finalized, it said the interim rule was finalized without change. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it says so 4 times.
Yes. So would that then lead you and the rest of the panel to be concerned about the proposed promises to address it at a later date and time?
Sure. What worries me, for example, would be a statement by Secretary Sebelius to the effect, for example, that religious insurers really do not shape their plans according to their religious convictions. Things like that sort of bode badly for what might be ahead. We don't know, though, for sure.
And I listen with great intent on if you self-insure, but the insurance company has to pay for it. If you're self-insured, that would be you, would it not?
That's correct.
So if you're self-insured and the insurance company has to pay for something that you believe goes against your tenets, would that violate your religious liberty?
It would. We have, of course, a third-party administrator, in our case Aetna, but it's the diocese that collects the funds, and it is the diocese that ultimately pays out the funds.
Well, as a woman, I understand the difference between religious liberties and the ability to get contraceptives and the insurance for contraceptives. And I, for one, take offense when my government violates what I believe my First Amendment rights. So with that in mind, Ms. Udine, you note that the government admits contraception services are widely available and that the federal government already spends hundreds of millions of dollars each year funding free or nearly free family planning services under its Title X program. So is this the case then of the government putting a grievous burden on religious entities in order to avoid placing a relatively minor burden on the individuals that they employ?
Absolutely. I mean, the burden here is not just substantial, it's quite severe. In many cases, a lot of these organizations are going to have to pay literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in penalties for failure to comply with the mandate.
And Ms. Monahan, and I was amazed earlier too about the conversation, because you are here to testify on what actually is what I believe, and I think you believe, an assault on our religious freedoms, our religious liberties, Amendment 1. And do you believe that this proposed rule, finalized rule, with the possible promises, as we've heard, because it was promised during the debate, it was promised after the debate, it was promised after the rule was made public, but yet the rule has been finalized, and guess what? The promise hasn't come through, but don't worry, we're going to get to it after the election now. So do you believe that this rule does infringe on your religious liberty?
Without a doubt. Yes, this rule infringes upon my religious liberty. I pay approximately close to $1,000 annually into my insurance premium, and it would absolutely violate my religious liberties if that money went to pay for drugs that can have modes of action that can cause abortion, both pre- and post-implantation in the case of Ella.
And Mr. Chairman, as a woman, I believe that this rule, as proposed, violates my religious liberty.